A quick disclaimer. Green Team received an arc of All That We See or Seem by Ken Liu, courtesy of NetGalley and Saga Press. We thank them for the early copy for review. All opinions are our own. All That We See or Seem releases on October 14th, 2025. Hope you enjoyed the episode.
Hello, and welcome to the Legendarium Green Team. I'm your host, Spook, and today I am joined by Befuddled Panda
Hello.
and Stormrunner.
Hey, how's it going?
Today we will be discussing a new release by Ken Liu, All That We See or Seem. First, we're going to go through just a spoiler-free discussion on what we think about the book, and then we will dive right into spoilers for the book itself. First of all, I'd love to ask you guys, what is your experience with Ken Liu? And I will start with myself because, as people who are probably listening to us know, we are going through Dandelion Dynasties. And so I have been reading those books for that, and we are 3 books in. So my experience with them is 3 of his books, and then I also read his translation for The Three Body Problem. And Panda,
Yes.
I think you've read a little bit more than me, right?
Just a little bit more. I've read a few of his short stories. So he has 2 short story collections, but he also has short stories in various publications. So I've read just a handful of his short stories here and there, in
Sweet.
addition to those that you've already mentioned.
Yeah. And Storm, how about you? How much have you read from him?
I am not on the Dandelion Dynasty podcast, but I have read his translation of The Three Body Problem and The Paper Menagerie, which is probably my favorite short story I've ever read. Not that I've read a ton of short stories, but that one is superb.
Nice. I have not read that yet, and I think I do need to do myself a favor of reading it at some point.
Yes, you do.
You do, and get ready to cry.
Get ready to cry? All right. And so also, as this book is cyberpunk in nature, cyberpunk thriller, I'm curious what your guys' experience with cyberpunk as a genre is. And I'll start with you, Storm.
Off the top of my head, the only other cyberpunk book I've read is Neuromancer, which is like the cyberpunk book.
The grandfather. of
Yes,
it
the
all.
grandfather, yes. I remember generally enjoying it, if being a bit confused by parts. It's something I definitely want to revisit, but yeah, I enjoy that. I mean, I like a lot of the a lot of the concepts are very. Well, actually, that's not true. I've read Android's Dream of Electric Sheep is cyberpunk.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That was written a decade and a half, like a decade or so before the genre would have been
It's
popular. Go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, it's definitely another kind of grandfather of the genre.
Yes. Yeah.
And referenced in this book a little bit at times.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. So I did enjoy that. And I've seen the movie, like I've seen Blade Runner, and it's superior sequel / remake
Wow.
/ reboot Blade
We're
Runner
going there, are
2049.
This isn't the debate episode for Blade Runner 2049, so careful.
I'm just saying. I think it's a prettier version that I think hits on the themes in a more gut punchy way. And then I've played Cyberpunk 2077 and watched the Edgerunners TV show, and I enjoyed the cyberpunk elements of both of them.
Sweet. How about you, Panda?
I would say I don't have that much experience with cyberpunk. I mean, some of the things that Storm's mentioned, I've read, consumed. I watched the Cyberpunk Edgerunners show, but I did not play the game. Also,
Sure.
I don't think it's my kind of game. But
Not enough farming and role playing in it.
Right. It's not cozy enough, okay?
It's definitely not cozy.
A lot going on.
But I enjoy the concept of cyberpunk, and I would like to dive into it more.
Awesome.
Yeah, diving into it more at some point. A book that's very high on my list for cyberpunk is Snow Crash by Neil Stephenson.
Yeah.
Yep.
Like I've heard that one referenced a lot in a lot of different places.
It's somewhere up on. I'm pointing at my shelf. It's that one right there. It's right behind me.
We could do it for
We
the
definitely could.
podcast.
I would be down to do it for the
I would love to.
podcast.
Well, for my experience, I think my experience is pretty similar to Storm's. I read Neuromancer, loved Neuromancer. I read that last year or 2 years ago. I love the Blade Runner movies. They are two of my favorite movies, period. Cyberpunk 2077 is in my top 5 games of all time. I think I've
Wow.
beaten it 2 or 3 times.
Oh, wow.
I've almost 100%ed it. I'm still working on that one. Love the
impressive.
anime. Also really good. Yeah. Ghost in the Shell. I watched that on Kipton's behalf because he kept telling me you need to watch this, and then I finally did. But yeah, overall, I love the genre.
Did you watch the original anime or
The original, not
Like the 80s one. 80s, right?
Yes.
Right,
I didn't
80s?
watch.
Yeah.
I thought about watching the live action version just to spite him. Just to spite him.
You
but I
should have
didn't.
watched only the live action and
Yeah.
then got a reaction from
Wait,
No, but
is Ex Machina considered cyberpunk?
I would say so. I think it dives into topics that are covered.
iRobot.
I haven't watched it, so
I
I
haven't
won't
watched
say
it or read it.
or read it.
I think with Cyberpunk's, and I'm sure we'll get into this a little bit when we talk about the book, but an important aspect that I don't know if Ex Machina necessarily has is there's a big political aspect of, or economic political aspect of it, and where it's kind of late stage capitalism. Corporations are functionally governments, and governments are basically puppets
I think that's part of Cyberpunk. I think a lot of it also has to do with what is humanity.
Yeah, that's true.
Which I think Ex Machina, that is the movie, is what is humanity. Westworld also.
Yeah, actually, Westworld. Yeah, Westworld, we could say is cyberpunk.
I think this could definitely be an episode of what is cyberpunk, and I don't know if any of us are.
I mean, it would be more productive than a What is Grimdark episode.
Oh my goodness.
Everything's grimdark if you try hard enough.
Or nothing's grimdark.
Or nothing.
Stardew Valley,
if you're
can you
picking
make it grimdark?
Yeah, easy.
I'm sure you could.
Easy.
Killing all the slime.
Well, you get divorced and kill your children and turn them into doves.
Okay, I have not seen that, but
If you-
okay.
What?
If you get a divorce and you have children in Stardew Valley, your children turn into doves.
Wait, really?
Oh, wow. Okay.
Anyway,
What were we talking about?
we're talking about
What's this
cyber.
book?
We're bringing back the Wheel of
experience-
Tangents, but go ahead.
Yeah, I definitely want to get more into cyberpunk as a genre because I really enjoy it. I think I have 3 or 4 cyberpunk books that I haven't read just on my shelf that are constantly staring at me. So, yeah.
Does Liu consider this cyberpunk?
I don't know. I would.
I think I would, but it gets into...
It's in the genres on Goodreads.
Okay. Well, because cyberpunk is typically, as Storm said, it's more dystopian.
This book is very dystopian.
Maybe some of it's because it's... Well, we'll get into a whole discussion of the technology level, but...
I would say Neuromancer, cyberpunk. This is cyberpunk.
Okay. All right. I haven't read it, so I don't know.
I would ultimately say it is.
Because Liu describes this as a sci-fi thriller.
Mm-hmm.
The thriller is very apparent.
Yeah. And I think that's the thing, that this is definitely more of a departure from the things that we already talked about that we've read of Liu.
Yeah, absolutely.
Definitely a departure from Dandelion Dynasty for sure. But also a departure from some of his other sci-fi short stories that I've read. However, I did find this more similar to the show Pantheon that is adapted from his short story collection, The Hidden Girl and Other Stories, which I haven't read those short stories, but I've watched 1.5 seasons of Pantheon.
They're all adapted. That show only adapts his short stories.
I think it's more of it pulls from the short stories. I don't know if it's because it's Pantheon it's not episodic. It's a full arc.
Oh,
whereas the short stories I think are not necessarily following the same characters or whatever.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Interesting. Never even heard of it. So
yeah.
Always cool to see short stories getting
Yeah.
adapted.
It's on Netflix.
Yes, it is on Netflix.
Right on. Yeah, I'm not fully certain if he would consider this cyberpunk, but
I haven't heard him or seen him refer to it as cyberpunk, but I mean,
a lot of the buzz around this book calls it cyberpunk.
sure.
In the Goodreads genres, it's cyberpunk. It
Sure.
definitely is science fiction first, but
Yes, and it's not just like any sci-fi, it's like tech sci-fi.
yeah.
So not the like, spacey alien kind of sci-fi. It's the AI kind of sci-fi.
Yeah, how much do we want to? Because going further, I have a point about that, but how much further do we want to go
Well,
before spoilers?
I wanted to get into general discussion, which I mean, talking about AI, I think would fit under general, not necessarily spoilery for
No,
it.
I mean the synopsis of this book, right?
Yeah.
The premise is that there is this orphan hacker named Julia Z, and she does her hacking thing, and there's espionage, and we won't spoil more. I mean, what we just
Yeah.
said is what you'll
Yeah.
find on the back of the book.
Yeah.
But she does get entangled in trying to help somebody get their life back.
Who wants to get started on kind of general thoughts?
I can go.
Sweet.
So I wasn't okay. We'll just get this out of the way. Is this my new favorite work from Liu? No, it's not. I do think that this being his first real like thriller novel,
Mm-hmm.
he definitely did get the thriller aspects of it down, I think. The part that I think was a little disappointing is he definitely spent a lot of word count on the tech.
Yeah.
And some of it was interesting. Some of it I felt like weighed down the plot and the pacing a bit. And I also think that the way that he wrote the tech stuff kind of made this book less accessible for just an average reader who enjoys thriller. And I think when we say this is a sci-fi thriller, there is a lot of emphasis on the sci-fi aspect.
But it's interesting because there is a lot of jargon, but it's not like the technology level is not that much farther than where we are today.
It's like a decade.
Yeah, like 10 to 15 years is kind of what I like
You mean like
guesstimated.
innovation wise and like
Yes.
what the technology can do?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree that it's not like, like 50 years in the future or 100 years in the future necessarily. It's fairly tangible, like you could grasp it, but I do think that the techno jargon and just the amount of tech details is
It's very noticeable.
yeah, it makes it less accessible for somebody who's more reeling for like the thriller aspect.
Sure.
Yeah, that's a good point in regard to the thriller aspect. I do think there's a bit more than there needs to be as far as the description goes. And I could definitely see if someone's going into this looking for a thriller first. Now, I'd be curious to see how many people would pick this up just looking for a thriller primarily as opposed to like a sci-fi book.
Right.
Sure.
It depends on how this gets marketed and how people talk about it.
Hey, I said cyberpunk. That's my marketing. Is this a cyberpunk thriller?
I mean, it's and again, I mean, Ken Liu is a speculative fiction author of whatever of various sorts.
Yeah.
Like, if I'm reading anything from him, I'm probably going to assume there's some sort of prominent speculative element.
Yeah. Well, and also, so I've been like watching snippets of interviews and like how he talks about this book.
Mhm.
The way that he has described this is it's basically like a way for him to explore his thoughts and his take on AI and the arts.
Sure.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Which is very poignant for today, our world today as we're recording. And well, that is the other thing that I'm kind of curious is 5 years from now, how will this book age.
It's very 2020. He would have been writing it like 2024. It's very 2020s.
Yeah.
Like in terms of the stuff, like the concept, the themes and societal things that he's talking about.
But that being said, though, right, things like, the things that we talked about, like Neuromancer or Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep, they're very much a perspective of their time, right, on the tech and pop culture and what's happening on the societal level when the author is writing it. So,
And,
yeah.
and to that, like there are parts of this, like I forget who brought up the point of like part of cyberpunk. If we're gonna use that
Humanity.
word for now, yeah, like going back to like what does it mean to be human, and like that's
There is
it,
some of that in here too.
yeah,
Oh,
like
yeah, there's
it's
quite
not
a bit.
yeah, like
Mhm.
not in the way that like say from the perspective that like Blade Runner kind of takes that question, but
It's
like
a different way.
yeah.
I do think, going back to, like, I don't think we have a new classic on our hands, if I can say that.
Okay.
I think part of that is because I feel like a lot of this has been done already.
Oh,
I
okay.
think we've had decades of the dangers of AI and kind of where it could go,
Mm-hmm.
like with like Blade Runner or Android's Dream of Electric Sheep. And here's where my hot take comes in.
Okay.
I think it's
Mm-hmm.
been done better. So
Okay. So, do you want to share an example of where you think it's been done better?
I think the entire time I was reading this, I kept thinking about Neuromancer
Hmm.
and how much I preferred Neuromancer to this.
I agree with that, to be
I
like
think
clear, but I think
it's it's different. I'm not trying to say it's the same as Neuromancer, but there's a lot going on in it where I'm like, well, Neuromancer kind of did this.
I agree. I would have a slightly different take in that
Sure.
I don't know how much of the book is uh, uh, exploring the dangers of AI in terms of
I don't think
the
that's the main theme.
yeah,
I
like
do
the
not think that that
no
is the main
no
thing at
no
all.
like
No.
that's yeah like that's
I think that's one of them.
it's concerned with AI and art.
I think it's probably one of the more interesting themes in this book. I think some of the other themes, I don't know. I think some of it is just a little. I'm trying to figure out how to phrase this without being without spoiling certain things.
It's a very I don't know if this is where you're going with it, but it's a
Mhm.
very plot driven book in the sense of like it's kind of a there isn't a ton of depth in terms of like what the events that happen in the book.
Yes,
Interesting. So
I would agree with that.
I think it is interesting that you say it's a plot driven book, which I think, at least from the reviews that I've seen so far, would agree. I do also think it is character driven, but a bit more subtle. And we can get into like why I think that
Yeah.
when we talk about the spoilers. But
Mhm.
we're given a protagonist that there's a lot of baggage.
Hmm.
She has trauma from her past, and we don't get everything. We get some of it, but we don't actually get everything in this book. And part of why she does what she does and why the plot happens the way it does is because of the character and their experiences and their relationship with other humans.
Yeah.
So in that sense, I think you could say it's a bit more character driven.
I think that kind of goes to like my another point I had or another feeling I had that like on one hand I think a lot of this book has been done before by other authors better. I think the character work has been done by him better. Like looking at Dandelion Dynasty and how well he can write his characters,
Sure.
I think this is a step down from that.
So, to what extent is that because this is a thriller? Because, like, not that I've read a ton,
I
but
haven't really read any thriller.
thrillers as a genre, like, it's not. You're probably not going to get a ton of depth into like the characters for, especially if it's like a longer running thing where, like, it's kind of a case of the book, case of the week type of deal where they have something they have to solve or a problem,
Yeah.
and it's going to be like a 200 page something, 200 300 page book, but like there's going to be a status quo, and like maybe there might be some books that where you get more depth and history from the character, uh but it might be more diluted or not diluted, drip fed's a better word, over like multiple books.
I would say, like, perhaps the average thriller that you would get, like, if you just went to the thriller section of a bookstore and you picked any of them up, most likely you're gonna get something similar
Yeah.
where it's not as, like, in-depth character work. But when I was reading this, I I kept thinking about the Millennium Trilogy by Stieg Larsson.
Yeah, and it doesn't hold a candle to that in terms of
So, I mean, well, there were definitely similarities between Julia and Lisbeth,
yeah.
and I would agree that, Stieg Larsson's books were better, even in translation. And for me, though, I think he does a lot more of the tech stuff. Like, this is more of the sci-fi that Stieg Larsson didn't really do. Like, yes, there was hacking in there, but it was more about the plot and the mystery and the like finding the people and yeah.
Yeah, with the Millennium Trilogy, it's definitely the tech is used as a very specific device to move the plot, like to get to the next plot point, basically.
Yeah.
I was thinking more along the lines of, and again, it's been a long time since I read this, but Along Came a Spider, like the first James Patterson's big thriller series. Like that's kind of what I think when I think thriller.
Mm.
And he's kind of like, I think he's with the FBI. He's a detective of some variety, and people are gonna people are probably screaming at their microphones right now that read a lot of that stuff. But I think that was about. This is maybe a little more in depth than we get with something like
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
that, which I would expect because Ken Liu is a better writer than James Patterson.
Well, he did say that he specifically is writing this series intentionally so that the books can be read in any order.
Interesting.
Yeah. I don't know how that's gonna work necessarily in
Mm-hmm.
terms of, like, getting more understanding of his protagonist from book to book, like, maybe it will work just fine where it's like, okay, the parts that you really need to know from this character's, like, backstory, right? You're gonna get what you need to know in that particular book that's relevant,
Sure.
and then if you go and read another one, then you're gonna find out more, but that part is more relevant to, what's happening in that
Yeah,
particular book.
I don't like that you said that because
I'm sorry.
I think it would make the other books worse.
I don't know. I don't know.
The possibility I'd be more concerned about is if a lot of this information gets repeated in every book. That's the big one
That's
that
one
I would.
concern is
Yeah.
repetitive information. The other one is, are we even going to see growth go from book to book?
I think we will.
Or and the series is named after Julia.
Yes.
So we know we're gonna keep seeing her, but
Yeah.
so it's not like we can have like another book in the series that's from a
Another
different
author that
character.
does something similar is John Scalzi. So his Old Man's War series, he's written it in a way that theoretically you could pick up any of them, not necessarily in the, chronological order. And I will say I recently did read his 7th installment into of the series as my
Mm-hmm.
entry point into the series, and it actually worked.
Okay.
For the most part,
Yep.
it did work. So I think it is doable, but to your point, Storm, it's like, okay, but how much of the information you're gonna get in each book is gonna be like repetitive if this is not the first one that you've read. So I don't know. I'm giving him I have
Benefit of the
faith
doubt.
in
Yeah.
Ken Liu's writing skills, and I think he'll get feedback, from this first installment, and he will make the next one better.
I think book 2 will give us an idea, will give us a more clear idea of where exactly the series is going as far as character growth, and is there overarching narrative at all versus is it each one is kind of separate.
Okay. I have couple theories of how he could take this, but that would become more
Spoiler.
spoilery.
Yeah.
Sure.
The last part in like the spoiler free section for me would be, I did really appreciate that, he's writing a protagonist in this like Jason Bourne or Jack Reacher type of thriller, but the
Kind of
character
space. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
is not using their brute strength or like military training. It's really about
Yeah.
their smarts and their a skill set with technology as opposed to beating somebody to death,
That part I definitely enjoyed. And I
Yeah.
like the more I read, the more conflicts. I don't know. I have a whole rant about this with Joe Abercrombie in like a good way. But like when characters have to solve problems through not like have to solve potentially violent situations through not non-violent means, but like through not punching their way through a problem,
Right.
it means that it's probably going to be hopefully an inherently more interesting resolution, or at least
Yeah.
how the character gets out of that resolves that situation. There have to be more like roundabout components than, well, they can fight good.
And there were definitely elements that he included that I really appreciated because it made the stakes feel more real
Yeah.
as opposed to just omitting certain elements because that's what the plot needed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I definitely found myself going, okay, how is Julia gonna get out of this one?
Yeah.
There was a few moments like that where I think a lot of this book, this goes back to me complaining. A lot of this book is like, well, okay, this is gonna happen, then this is gonna happen, and then probably this will happen, and like for the most part, it felt predictable. But then there's certain parts where it's like, oh, okay, I like how he solved that problem,
Yeah.
or she.
Yeah.
So Ken Liu solved that problem through Julia.
Yeah, like that's I would say my main criticism would be like there are parts of it that are a bit by the numbers in that sense, which looks okay. Like
It's a thriller.
yeah, again, it's a thriller. Like it's there. I wanted a little more about the general context of the world than we got.
Sure.
Oh,
Because
you
like
wanted more world building?
yes,
I have a
is
series
it?
for
I
you.
think are you going after my Malazan takes? Is that where that's going?
No, if you want a lot of world building, read that series right there, Dandelion Dynasty.
Oh, okay. Okay, I thought that was okay.
I don't know if that's where Panda was going, but that's where I was going.
No, yeah.
Yeah. So and I didn't need a ton more, but just a little bit because they allude to some of the socio-cultural, economic,
Yeah.
political
Yeah.
situations.
Well, you gotta get it in the next books, He also didn't make this 500 pages long.
No,
And it
I
was easy to
appreciated
read.
it. Yes.
Yeah.
It,
I
which
appreciated that.
I think is a good thing and a bad thing, but in my opinion. But
So, do we want to say like star ratings or who we want to recommend to?
I would say, yeah. Who would you recommend this to? And then kind of how would you rate this book out of 5?
I think I gave this like a 3.5.
Okay, that's lower than I thought you would. So
It's either like 3.5 or 3. Well, actually, I think I lied. I think I gave it a 4.
I more say that's lower than I thought you would, because when I said I don't have good opinions on this book, you went, "Oh no." That's what
Well,
I
but
was like.
it is an oh no moment. Like,
Yeah.
hold on, let me check my story graph. Okay, I gave it a 4 on story graph.
Okay.
I initially had it at a 4. On my spreadsheet, I just bumped it down to like a 3.7.
Okay.
Maybe this conversation will talk that back up, but
So what I was telling these guys before we started recording is I was putting all my notes together and kind of writing down my general thoughts. And the longer I wrote about my thoughts, the lower my score was getting.
Oh no.
It's not bad. I'm right now I'm at a 3.
okay.
But I definitely kind of am beginning to understand Yeti in our Devils discussion, because it
Can't
just
wait to listen to that.
it's like Lou's done better in almost a lot of these aspects. So it's very much a all right. What's going on here? So I would still recommend this book. I would recommend it to people who like thrillers in general, because I think there's a compelling kind of mystery in this book, and it's very easy to read. I think I read it in a week, most of that in 2 days.
Wait, you
It's
read it? Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, I didn't read a whole lot in the week, and so I think I read most of. Right now it's Sunday for people listening. I read most of it like Friday and today.
Hmm.
Hmm. I agreed with agreed with the compelling mystery part. I do think that it's the mystery. It, while I would have liked it, uh, yeah, I'll just say it's without getting into before we get into spoilers. It's more compelling than a lot of thrillers. There's more to it than a lot of other thrillers would probably do, and I think some of that is because of the sci-fi elements.
There's a lot in there that keeps you going, wanting to know more. Is how I would phrase it. If you would agree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Do we want to go into spoilers?
Let's go into spoilers.
All right, Panda.
Okay.
You have our summary.
Yes, I've got a summary. A man named Piers is looking for his wife, Ellie Krantz. He's being blackmailed and threatened by a man called the Prince, who claimed he's holding Ellie captive. So Piers seeks the help of Julia Z to at first confirm whether the video of Ellie being held captive was real. In the world of very advanced AI technology, deepfakes are everywhere and easily generated. Julia, who has been living a low profile life, felt sorry for Pierce, but did not want to get involved. Alas, Julia becomes entangled with Pierce's search for his wife when she realized he was being followed, and he inadvertently led the bad guys to her residence. Julia helps Pierce put together clues via digital forensics and learns about dream weaving, Ellie's profession. As they dig deeper, Pierce is confronted with the facts that Ellie had kept secrets from him. Eventually, Pierce and Julia locate Ellie, but so have the goons. In a nail biting chase scene on water during a thunderstorm, Pierce is wounded and killed, and Ellie is thrown into the ocean, presumed dead. Julia works on processing the new trauma and grieves for Pierce. But her life is upended again when the bad guys blow up her apartment. With newfound anger, Julia proceeds to take down the prince's empire from within. She ends up uncovering one of the Pierce's human content generation and engagement farms, and joins the indentured servants when her reconnaissance effort goes south. In the end, Julia and one of her newfound friends set fire to the content farm, forcing an emergency situation, during which the farm is raided by the FBI and the slaves are saved. The prince escapes for a while, but is eventually met with an engineered death. A lady tries to recruit Julia to join her organization to do more hacking, espionage things. Julia refuses, at least for now.
Thank you. All right. Well, our first kind of topic in our little spreadsheet here is thoughts on the tech. Do you think we have more to say in the spoiler kind of territory on the tech and how it kind of interacts with the plot?
I think so. So
Yeah.
there's this whole thing about dream weaving, which there's a term for the people.
Oh, Neromancer. Oh,
That is not the
Nayromancer.
term.
Is that not it?
Wait, this could be a thing. How did each of you pronounce that word?
Oh, Nayromancer.
No.
Where's this mancer part?
According to Google listing, it's Oniromancer.
No,
Nye,
it's
not nay.
Onira
It's not
Fox.
spelled. Yeah.
Oh, it's Fox, not Mancer.
Onir.
Yeah. I don't know where you're getting
Onirifox.
the Mancer from.
Yeah, I'm not saying.
Well, because
mancer,
okay.
one era.
Because it's from the
is how it's
Greek
spelled.
term Oniromancer, which is my bad. Which
Okay.
is divining the future through dreams.
See, here's the thing about reading an ARC. There's no audiobook, so I can't consult the audiobook.
Onirofont.
Onira
said
Fox, right?
Fox? I thought it was font. But then again, I'm also wrong about it being
Okay.
Mancy.
Anyway, so this whole dream weaving thing, which Liu does spend quite a bit of time explaining and showing what it is. I think it
Facts.
did lean a bit more on the explaining as opposed to the showing. So I think
Show
that's
don't tell.
part of the bogging down of the text. And I think that was a very interesting portrayal of him working through okay, how could AI benefit the arts as opposed to AI being antagonistic to the arts. And a lot of the tech it's not so much like AI taking over. It's AI augmenting human capabilities and amplifying and enhancing what humans can do. That was what I took away from it.
I would say that, and additionally, it's AI as and the all of the like everything that Prince does with it. Well, not just him, but like him in particular, using it as a tool for like evil, basically. I mean, it's used basically like that stuff is used in today terms of like with deepfakes and that type of
Yeah.
stuff, except
But
it's become
that was
so
only a
real.
little bit of it, because this whole thing of about his content generation and engagement farm,
Oh,
Was that it
right,
was people?
yeah, it's
is
people. Yeah,
actually the opposite. He's like, I'm actually like saving human whatever,
yeah,
humanity.
that's true. Yeah, that's a good point, and in particular, the augmenting and enhancing, because the whole thing, the way Julia views her, I forget what they call it, but her like
She called it
personal,
Talos.
yeah, her Talos, like it's basically another her,
Her
but she,
egolet.
yeah, yeah, Eaglet, yeah. But she seems to view it as a, yeah, basically like an extension of her, and almost like a kind of like a helper, but like
Yeah,
in a way that understands her in
because
a
it is her.
yeah, because it's
Yeah.
her, yeah, yeah, like in a somewhat more, dare I use the word, authentic way than this type of concept or anything AI would be typically presented.
Yeah, like the whole concept of having a personal AI is not necessarily so if you think about, for example, like Iron Man and Jarvis, right? In Lou's world here, it would be as if Jarvis were Iron Man,
Yeah. An
Yeah,
extension of him, not necessarily somebody
Siri.
who
Yeah,
fights counters his weaknesses with its own strength.
right? And has its own consciousness.
right. Like
Yeah.
it's not just basically smarter Siri or Alexa.
Right. Yeah. So I thought that was quite interesting. And
Hmm.
I think the way that he portrays it, it would be an exciting future where, like, you could, have this a personal assistant that can just do all these like calculations, analysis, all the learning and reading and being able to remember stuff, finding patterns, and that is like add being able to add that to yourself. That's kind of the dream, right? And kind of like pun intended, because we can talk about the title of this and the whole dream stuff.
Yeah,
But yeah.
I would say I don't think Ken views it as a dream. I think there's a lot in here that kind of goes with more of the dystopian side of AI, where everything is a lot of the AI in this book is kind of programmed to do one task, and then it kind of excludes humans' capability of doing it, and then that's monopolized. Like with the lawyer, there's a part in it where
All the paralegals are fired.
yeah.
yeah,
Well, it's not even necessarily that. It's everything. Everything legal is now written by AI in such a way that only AI can process it, and
Sure.
it's like thousands upon thousands and thousands of pages of things that interconnect with each other that doesn't really say anything unless you're using the a specifically made AI for this purposes.
Sure.
And I think that kind of goes more into a dystopian feeling.
I think he shows both sides, where it's like, this is what, like, yes,
What it
corporations
could
are
be,
gonna,
but
yeah, corporations are gonna do what they're gonna do. They're there for profit. This is the crappy world that becomes a reality. But then there's also this like individual relationship with AI.
yeah.
yeah. I think that's a fair take. That in the sense that he's trying to present both sides of that.
I think I am also on the side of not liking AI as a whole. I have a negative
That's a
viewpoint
very
of it.
different. Yeah, that is a very
So that's
separate discussion. Yeah,
coming into it, that's kind of my bias.
that's typically where I stand as well. But
Yeah.
how the book, yeah, go ahead.
I would say on the personal AI aspect of it, I think one of the things I like about it is he kind of shows the strengths of it, which is it is an extension of yourself. It processes things in the way that kind of you would. And
Hmm.
so there's a part of the book where Julia has all of this data from Ellie that she needs to parse. And so she has Talos parse
Right.
it in a way where it's like you pull out things that you find anomalous, and like what I would kind of typically pass over, you put it on this side. Stuff that you think is like I would think is an anomaly, put on this side, and then that's kind of how it does it. And I think it shows the strengths in that, but it also shows the weaknesses in that as well. Because in the data that she may not find anomalous is the solution to the problem that she's having
Right.
with what are the dreams from the prince.
Mm-hmm.
And then also kind of at the big climax where she's using Victor's AI against him, where it's built for Victor, therefore it's as proud as he is, it's
Mm-hmm.
as kind of sure in machine as he is, and so she's able to trick it, therefore tricking him,
Right. Right.
and using
Yeah.
his weaknesses against him, because it's not kind of building on Victor's weaknesses, it's just progressing his strengths.
I think that was actually quite clever by Liu in that. So going back to like why AI today that we have is not that great is whoever is building it and whatever data they choose to train the AI on is biased.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Now that you said it, the way that Liu portrays these AIs is that they are going to be biased because you're training it on yourself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so they are going to be a version of you, which I think was, he didn't explicitly say that. It's more implied.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I think also the, like personal stance on AI, it's the ethics around it. Who gets to develop it? Who gets to control it? What data are they actually training it on? And, the
Yeah.
theft of intellectual property
Mm-hmm.
and creative rights and
Yep.
all of that. That's just something I think because Liu is pushing this, far enough in the future where it's like, well, that kind of just already happened.
Yeah.
I kind of like that he just said, "Okay, I'm choosing to have had this already play out and not have it be like a conflict that
Right.
the
That wasn't the
character should."
point that he was
Right.
necessarily.
Yeah, like this is the state, like, and kind of how a lot of it's presented is like this is the state of like this is the state of the world, regardless of what we think AI can or can't not do right now. This is like he obviously this is any sci-fi book would do this, but he's saying this is the level of technology or capability with it that I'm saying it's able to do, and like this is what I'm like in order to explore some of the themes that he wants to explore,
Mhm.
this is the status quo that he kind of needs to an extent.
And he specifically put in examples where he's really showing that the AI, it's not like it's developed its own consciousness. For example, where Pierce and Julia are on the run, right? And, Pierce, well, he needs to keep his like phone on or whatever, and if the prince like contacts him or something.
Yeah.
But she doesn't want him to use an unsecured network. So it's all hooked up to Talos. And the first time that Pierce gets the messages from the prince, right? Talos reports to her and she's like, "Oh no, this is too private.
Yeah.
Do not tell me these things. Like just don't tell me like what the exchanges are." And that actually caused a plot point to happen, right? Where they
Get found.
They're
they get
found.
found.
Yeah.
And another one is just like how Julia talks to Talos. So like they're interacting as if Talos is its own being, but then Julia will have like little thoughts like, "Oh, but you're of course doing that because I programmed you to do that."
Yeah. Do we want to talk about dreams and eaglettes?
Sure.
Yep.
Because I think that's another interesting part of the tech, and it goes into kind of what we brought up earlier about what is humanity. Because in
Yeah.
this
And
book, a construction of Ellie is created, who's missing, and then at this point, kind of presumed dead, and she like Julia's able to talk to her, and it's very interesting because we're able to find out, get glimpses into what the prince is doing, but not necessarily what happened. I think the way Liu put it was Julia was looking for the shadow of the data. The eaglet doesn't necessarily know the dreams, but what is missing from the eaglet is the dreams. I don't know. I thought that was very interesting how he treated Ellie and Pierce in that kind of second half of the book with the eaglets.
You mean like after they die? Well,
Yeah.
die. Yeah.
The eaglets specifically.
Yeah.
Where they're kind of let to live and be happy together.
Yes. Oh yeah. Yeah. Like the scene where Julia's like they're basically mourning Pierce and Ellie. Like it's basically their a funeral / wake-esque scene, kind of. Yeah, I like that.
I guess it's kind of it is perhaps wish fulfillment where
Yeah.
a version of you is able to live on even though your physical body is dead. So it's not quite like the uploading of your consciousness, but perhaps like getting there. And maybe, who knows, like as he writes this series, as he continues the world building, maybe that's going to happen in this world, perhaps.
Nope, I think that's
I just find it interesting how it's very clear it's not these people, but it's still an aspect of them.
Right.
And with the AI in general.
And I think it's because they don't have the consciousness of the actual human being.
Right. It's this is an impression that they left.
And it's an imitation of them.
Yeah.
It's how would they act in this scenario, but at the same time, humans are also unpredictable.
Right. Yes. There's a lot of nuance, which, okay, the reason why I did give the book higher rating after I finished it was, even though, we talked about like the issues with it, I do think the topics that he tackles there is a lot of depth, and it may not be as accessible to a reader because it really requires you to think about it if you choose to. So what is the relationship between a human and their personal AI? How would you use it? What would be ethical? And also, like, this whole thing about humanity where hold on, I have to consult my notes.
Is this going to be about, like, because the theme I don't know if this is what you were going to touch on, Panda, but the like dream, and this is kind of like a bit like one of the bigger themes of dreaming, is that it gives, at least people use dreaming and dreamweavers as a way to feel connected to other people, like other humans, in a world that has, like, where an over-reliance on technology has functionally taken that away.
Yes.
And like that's I think, as far as themes that the book explores from a cyberpunk sci-fi-esque element, that's the one that was the most interesting to me.
Yeah.
It's like, because to one of your criticisms, Spook, this is not something that I don't think a lot of other books have done. Specifically focused on. Like, of course, like Found Family and Friends is like of course, in, like, I don't know,
age old.
Yes, age old. It's in everything. But like this specific idea of, as technology increases and people become more reliant on technology and use it for interaction, how to maintain, like, what other forms of connecting will people find? This is at least one answer that the book is presenting.
So there is a lot to unpack there, because yes, there's like the loneliness epidemic that is caused by humans. We cause it ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
There's also the question of, like, what is knowledge? Like,
what does it mean to know?
Yeah, because, like, so for example, we kind of jokingly talked about it in Discord, but like vibe coding. This is something that we can do today now with AI technology, where you don't actually need to know how to code. You just need to know how to interface with an AI bot that knows how to code, that can translate your words into code. The problem with that is, if you don't actually understand what coding is and, like, the principles of a coding, the risks, logic failures, the impact of that could have, or going beyond coding, like how to set up a service, like what is a database, like all of these, like, integral foundational components, then you don't know the right questions to ask. You don't know the right instructions to give to the AI. And so you could create this like really beautiful website, you could create this beautiful app, but there's a bunch of holes in what you just built via the AI that you don't know about. So
Yeah.
it's one of the things that is kind of concerning to me is I think experts are still valuable. Yes, an AI bot can, take over and like replace people's jobs. But once it comes across a situation where it doesn't actually have the right information on how to address it, can it really come up with a solution that a human would have been able to come up with? Because there's so much nuance.
Yeah.
Like actually this makes me think of Wild Robot. So
Mm-hmm.
it's a book series, it's
Yep.
also a movie.
Great movie.
Mm-hmm. Good movie.
Cried.
I also cried.
If you think about how the robot like was trying to understand what is rain, what is it to be wet, what is hunger, what is happiness, what are feelings and emotions, and
Mm-hmm.
it's taking in these data points and approximating, like it has to translate it into something that the
You can
code in the robot can understand. And I mean that's fictional, but essentially what we would have to build the AIs to be able to do if we want them to be able to think like humans. And then there's this whole question of like, okay, all of these like AI tech, it's generating this neural mesh. And there's one take of it, which is the technology, like what has been built, is actually ahead of the science. It's ahead of people's understanding of what that technology is, which
Mm-hmm.
is really exciting. And I think a lot of people are, really want to dive into it. But at the same time, it's like, if you don't really understand what you just built and what it's doing, then you don't understand the impacts. And that's kind of scary.
I think that happens in science always, where we make something and we don't fully understand why that's a
Yeah.
thing.
I think with AI, there's a whole thing with how like businesses are applying it, where it's how can we make a given like business practice or process more efficient, so to speak.
Sure. Yeah. Right now it's
And
about efficiency.
right, and so like, and that's where I think the scary part of like comes in, of not understanding like the impacts of some of that, because like you might make something efficient but it could be wrong, or
Then you have to go and
yeah,
make something to solve
yep,
for the
mm-hmm,
problem that you
yep,
just created.
yep, and
Yeah.
so it's like, okay, well, you had the AI do this but it was wrong because you said it, like you said, because of either how it's trained, or like, or the person that built it doesn't fundamentally understand what they were building, and now there's bigger problems than you had before.
Yeah.
That being said, I do wish that like I could have her math teacher and that I could use neuromesh to learn calculus, but like, or to learn how calculus feels is what I think she kind of how she
Yeah.
phrases it. But
Yeah. No, don't get me wrong. Like some of the tech that is in here, like I would love to have. So like Talos, it's just like the size of a cell phone, right? And it's like super powerful. Like it's not just a computer, it's like a super powerful server with its
Well,
own.
not necessarily when it's in the cell phone, but yeah.
Well, yeah, but it's like it is really powerful. And then, the keyboard can just like pop out, and then like the haptic gloves with the drone, and like you put on the headset, and like there's so much cool tech that he puts in here that without all the ethics issues, like I would love to have.
the problem is that the for this entire discussion and what a lot of the book is about is there is no separating the ethics issues
Yeah.
from
I mean
the
the
from
ethics
the
and the
tech.
environmental impacts, because
Yeah,
I don't
yeah.
think he quite like explains the environmental impacts.
No, we get a reference to like these lava fields at
Yeah.
some point, and like that. So this is when I talked about
I mean,
wanting more
that's
of the
kind of like Idaho. I don't think that's necessarily it being the data center.
No, it's not. Like, but just generally, like, that's the part of the world that I wanted to know more about was like,
Yeah.
okay, like, what does the greater shape of this world look like in terms of like socio-political state? How did
Like, is it all
various
nuclear
environmental
powered, or like, is it something
yeah
else? I don't
Yeah.
know.
yeah like what were the like societal impacts of a lot of these technologies at like a like at scale,
Hmm.
which we get like allusions to, like they kind of reference a lot of it, not a ton specifically.
But going back to the dreaming part, sorry,
Mhm.
we went on a bit of a tangent. So it's an oneirofex is
Yes.
the term. What I wasn't expecting was also like an exploration of parasocial relationships,
Mm-hmm.
like the whole
Yeah.
Very
Ellie thing,
2020s.
the
Yep.
dinosaur corporation or whatever. I don't know. That wasn't my favorite part.
It was there.
Well, I mean, really, our fans are our friends, so I think it's different, you know, and more than just a way that everyone who listens to us is somebody we talk to and are friends with, but in a way that if you listen to us, you're our friend.
Okay, I don't know where you're going with that.
I think he's trying to say that
I'm making a
not a
joke.
that this is not a parasocial relationship.
We're
when in
pro
fact
parasocial relationship here.
No, no,
when in fact this
That's
is
what
not
I'm
a
saying.
parasocial relationship.
no.
Or sorry, when in fact this is a parasocial relationship. When
Yeah.
he's
Yeah.
uh,
Anyway.
yeah.
Go ahead. Go
I
ahead.
think that's when I did. Anyone have anything else on the parasocial stuff? It was very 2020s.
I
like
had
in
something on
particular.
the knowledge aspect, but
Okay.
Go for it.
okay, because I think we're just hopping back.
Yeah, sorry.
The knowledge aspect was interesting and his exploration of it, because I think we're seeing it now as we kind of progress through technology. The less we know about technology, where most people nowadays definitely could not utilize DOS because we don't need to,
Sure.
you know. And then for an example from you guys who are way older than me, for DOS,
Thanks.
for people around my age, we stepped up to using normal kind of operating systems like Windows and Mac. We have our keyboard, we have our mouse, we can use those things.
Uh-huh.
But now kids grow up on tablets, they don't really know how to use mouse and keyboard. They're having to learn how to type instead of just touching things. And we kind of see that
I mean, how are they going to play video games that aren't on a phone or a tablet?
Exactly. But
God.
we kind of see that in a funny moment, I would say, in the book, where Julia didn't really learn how to program. She learned how to guide AI through programming.
Yeah.
And so she's having to program something for probably not her first time, but due to limitations of not having access to her personal AI, she's having to program a worm. And that kind of just made me think about just the whole, as technology progresses, our knowledge kind of decreases in certain aspects.
Right. You become very reliant on the tech. And so
Yeah.
without it, then what
Even
do
if
you
you're
really
moving
know?
one step down, you're like, what am I doing?
Because that's kind of my concern, is that what you're learning isn't the actual knowledge. What you're learning is how to use the tools
Yeah.
that
And
actually can generate or understand the knowledge. Which, I mean, sure, people could argue, well, that's what happens with like computers.
Mhm.
You had to learn the tool so that you could do the actual thing. For example, like making a reservation for a restaurant. Like a lot of places, they don't want you to call them to make a reservation anymore. They want you to do it online, right? Because then
yeah,
they don't have to have a person around to answer the phone. But then for people who grew up either just like going to the restaurant to make a reservation or calling them up, now they have to learn to use a different tool to engage and do the thing that they were able to do before.
Yeah.
it's a valid point.
I mean, think about a future where I don't have to call a doctor to make an appointment.
I mean, I do
I
all
mean,
of
so
that
nice.
online. Yeah, I do all of that on through like
You do that
Epic,
now?
and yeah, like that's how I.
Yeah. And I'm curious, in this world, if there's like movie directors who do it the old way, make movies the old way, meaning not with actors, but like are there on set and like telling them where to go instead of having an AI decide how the cameras
Oh,
work.
you mean like in the world that Liu created? Got it,
Yeah,
got it.
yeah.
I think that's a good question.
Yeah, I don't know.
I think there are some that certainly would, but it's probably like an indie movement.
Is Scorsese still alive, Ken Liu? Is he still alive in your series? We need to
No,
know.
I don't think so.
Yeah,
Well,
I think
maybe his
Has his
egolet
opinions of
is.
superhero movies changed in your world? Anyways.
I do want to go back and touch on the connectedness
Yeah.
themes because that's how Ellie got famous. Is like it's, and I think he is both saying with the tech that it's cool that people were able to use this to make connections with people, and maybe this is like me projecting a bit, but like. But then there's the other side of like, well, can you really? I mean, I'm gonna not ask the question, but make the statement. You cannot like replace actual human interaction in some form, like real relationships with other humans. Like even with the dreaming, like even though their consciousnesses are all kind of being blended together, sort of, there's still like a barrier between you and another person there.
Yeah.
It's like yes, like you kind of know them as a consciousness in this hive consciousness that creates the dream, but like it's still not the same as like going to someone's place
Yeah.
or like a
Yeah.
gathering, like bar or coffee shop or what have you, and actually talking to them.
So, like, there are a few moments in this book where Liu really highlights the importance and the value of human connection. So,
Mm-hmm.
there's one which is in Julia's backstory where she witnesses like a bunch of people robbing this like tech retail store.
Apple.
Yeah, a
An Apple
version of
store,
that, or Best Buy.
ostensibly.
And she makes a conscious decision to help this person that was like trying to get away. Because of that, and because of the relationship they've built, she like learned how to do all of this hacking and all the tech stuff, and the way that she felt as part of a group, right, like a place that she belonged, really helped her get over, to an extent, her trauma with like what happened with her mother and the environment that created. And then there was another time where, because of the relationship she built, right, in that group, she had people that she could go to when she was in trouble and she didn't know where else to go.
Mm-hmm.
And those people were the ones who then were able to get the FBI to get involved. I mean, there's more to it than that, but essentially that's what happened. And then the way that Lou ended the book, where she was going to basically like a friend's gathering.
July 4th
Yeah.
celebration.
And it was about like being with other humans and connecting with them.
Mm-hmm.
And then,
Mm-hmm.
nurturing these relationships. And it wasn't, just like more of the tech stuff.
It's definitely
Yeah.
part of the character growth that showed up in this book that has me worried about the next one being like, well, you can read this without reading the first one because what's Julia's character going to be like? But
So that's a
negative
good
Nancy.
point. But also, he could take this a number of ways. He could go and write a prequel. He could go and explore more about the time when she joined that organization.
More about the obscura cartographers.
Yeah, exactly. And like a mission that she went on, right? Like he could totally do that.
Sure.
I think that would be less interesting because we kind of like unless like it's a really written in a really interesting way.
We kind
Maybe
of know what happens with
right,
them. Yeah.
right. Like unless it's again,
Okay, but a lot of thrillers, the point of it isn't necessarily like, oh, how is this going to end? It's how do you get to the end?
yeah.
Journey before destination.
Yeah. It's true.
No, it's yeah. It's a Sanderson.
The
No,
ones
that's
where
like a
they
Sanderson
start with,
thing.
so and so is dead,
Yeah.
and then they figure out how that person died.
Yeah, no, it's a valid point. Yeah, I still think the sequel is going to be at least the first one's going to be like a sequel. I
Sure.
want her to just join the super secret FBI NSA
I
task
think
force.
that's kind of where it may be going. But...
yeah, and at some point she's definitely going to be there, but like
I mean, maybe he's writing a series after this book where you can read them in any order as long as you have this one as like you read this one and then okay, you can read 2 or 3 or 4 or whatever in any order.
Maybe.
That part doesn't matter. But I don't know.
We'll see. Well, we just have to wait and see.
We'll have to wait and see. Put our faith in Ken Liu.
But I also really liked when she was in the content farm, and then I forget the name of the girl that
Isabella.
her
Okay.
main like helper or her like
Yeah.
ally.
And
I didn't like that part. But
oh, you didn't like that part?
I am generally sour on the last third of this book,
Oh no.
which we can get into. But okay, it's not that I don't like the relationship that she's able
Okay.
to have with Isabella. I don't like the kind of convenience of here's another person. It just
Oh.
felt convenient for the story.
Yeah, but like she is with all these other people, and she
Yeah.
wouldn't be able to break out without,
Help. Yeah, it's there's definitely an aspect of she finally needs to like ask somebody for help.
There were some parts where it's like, yes, it is a little too convenient, but I kind of give him a pass on it because the thing that I was mentioning in the spoiler-free part where it did feel like there were stakes is the security cameras.
Yeah, like
Yes.
what's going to happen with these?
That was one of the best. That was probably the best the book ever was in terms of both the sci-fi stuff and the thriller stuff. Like when she initially infiltrates and like her drone is running around. Like that sequence is really good.
A lot of times, especially when you're watching these like action movies and it's supposed to be a spy like infiltrating somewhere, and you're like, they're cameras.
There's cameras.
Come
But that's why
on.
you have the hacker man, you know.
But
That's why
sometimes they don't even address it. It's just like,
Yeah.
nope, this very secure place does not have cameras inside.
Yeah.
That's why you have Riley in National Treasure inside the building on the toilet hacking all the cameras and turning them off.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Oh, and Mission Impossible, is
Sean Pegg.
Yeah.
His character. I don't remember the character's name. It's Sean Pegg. Is it Sean Pegg?
Simon Pegg?
Simon Pegg.
Yeah.
Simon Pegg. Sean Penn is
a different person.
He's a different an American actor too.
I think he plays Harvey Milk in Milk.
Yes, Sean Penn does. Correct.
Do we want to talk about the last third of the book a bit then?
Because I think it's kind of a department. Because it's different than the first kind of bit.
What do you got?
All right. So based on what I know about this book, is it originated from a novella that Ken Liu wrote. And then somebody, I don't know if it was editor or whoever, told him, you need to make this a full book, not just this novella. And I think there is a kind of clear point in this book where I go, this is where the novella ended, which is with the death of Pierce.
Yeah,
I think everything up to that point is very much a very well kind of thought out and plotted along kind of thriller. We get to the like Pierce dying. We get to kind of like the main kind of mystery of this whole thing kind of solved, or the main kind of pull in of, in a sense, Pierce is reunited with Ellie in death.
And that's also a very cyberpunk type of ending with like kind of the tragic, like you sort of kind of win, but like it's extremely tragic.
Yeah. And I think up to that point, you ask me how do you feel about this book? I would be like, I love this book. This book is great. But then the last third, I think, is where I kind of sour on it because now it's like, okay, now she has to go get revenge and take down the prince. And then everything in that just feels kind of, I'm trying to kind of step by step, just like, here's what's going to happen. This happens and this happens and this happens. There's no like real internal thought on these things, in my opinion. And then something happens, such as the FBI are here now. Like the FBI saves them, and it's just pure coincidence that the FBI were here. And then like, 2 pages later, it's no. Julia actually was able to get the FBI to come here because of this, and this. And we move on. It's like, okay, that's weird. Whatever. We move on, and it's like the prince is dead now. oh no, what happened to the prince? And then it moves on. Oh, actually, Julia's the reason why the prince died. It felt like he wrote a conclusion and then decided to add more after it, explaining the conclusion instead of taking us through that path naturally.
I don't disagree with that first part of that like the Pierce's death and all of that is a very clear ending to like a plot. I'm fine with how most of it flowed from there.
Okay.
It was a little bit like I was a little bored when we were in prison for a bit. The explanation was kind of intense and interesting, and that's clear like with the whole human content farm, and that's clearly the bigger that plays into some of the more dystopian cyberpunk themes that he wanted to explore with
Yeah.
and like that part I thought was well done and
I think the
compelling.
setting I liked.
Yes, but I thought I'm not gonna say we were there for too long, but like I did kind of like I just was a little bit like bored with the like
It was
prison
also brutal.
section.
Yeah.
No, it was. Yeah, no, all of those parts, especially when they're like getting into it, were like intense and compelling and brutal. I was just kind of like I'm like okay, she's in prison, and it feels like this is almost a different like yeah again like a
It felt like the book went on too long. Is that
no, not necessarily.
I think I know where you're going, and
Yeah,
I think it felt disjointed from the
yes,
other
disjointed
rest
is
of the
better.
book.
That being said, I think that this is what makes I think all the stuff with the prince here makes him a more like interesting villain when you actually.
I just did not feel compelled with him as a villain.
Most of the book, I agree.
He saw himself as a hero, a protagonist.
I think a lot of I just didn't. I thought Victor was a better villain.
I don't know.
The prince was just very cartoony.
Victor was boring to me for a lot until like because he's just a henchman until the end. Victor,
I don't know. I think I just would have preferred a more. And maybe I'm thinking of this as like a series standpoint, where like Victor is the villain of the book, and then we don't really know who the prince is until later. Maybe
I did expect the prince to still be alive at the end of the book, and
Yeah.
like it would have carried on to other books in the series where, you know, like at some point later down the line the ultimate takedown was the prince.
But then I don't think that kind of goes with his whole idea of the series being you read this
Correct.
book or you can read this book.
Right.
I just found the prince not very compelling and cartoony, where he's a bad guy because he's a bad guy. He does all these bad things, and it's just as.
But he thinks he's doing good.
I mean,
Yeah.
I think you're
yeah.
right in that, Spoogan, that he's as a character he's kind of cartoony, but
There's no nuance with him, I think, is my issue. Which maybe I've been reading too much Malazan.
I want to hear more about that comment, but before we get there, I think that he's like the reason he's not super nuanced is because he's really representing like an ideology.
It's
like,
a thriller as well. Like there has to be a clear good guy and bad guy.
Well, I think it's more like the whole
sense.
content farm idea. Like it's more thematically that's what he wanted to explore, and so like the prince is kind of the person that just embodies that from like an antagonist perspective.
I'm gonna be honest. When it was, I figured like his way around the Blade Runners was it was actually people, and I kind of found it funny when it was revealed, even though it's this horrific scene, because that's what it's happening now. Because like we have our like the Amazon like in-person stores where it's like our really good AI is able to detect what items you're picking up and taking and selling and buying and leaving the store. It's just people watching cameras. That's all it is.
Oh, I mean,
or like AI robot that's walking down the street and is like, look how complex his AI is. It's a person. It's just a person. Like it's what's happening now, which is made me kind of laugh at this truly horrific scene in this book, which is me. It's just me. It's not a problem with the book. Yeah.
Well, there's this whole theory that the internet is dead.
Yes.
Right.
I liked that was brought up.
Because it's just bots interacting with bots.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, people are spending like so much money and all for what?
This is going to date this podcast a bit, but recently the CEO of Hinge was talking about how soon you won't need to like really use the dating app because you're like basically your AI will like filter through and date other AIs to figure out like who you should date.
That's a Black Mirror episode.
Yes.
It's
Like,
a legitimate
oh,
Black
like,
Mirror
actually?
episode. Yes.
So
Oh,
here's the
that's
thing.
funny. Yeah, this is
Spoilers
something-
for that episode, I guess.
Yeah, like they literally said that this was somewhere. It was some comment around that, like recently.
So here's the thing. I am not like a hater of AI in general, like all AI. I think that the technology definitely has good uses. And it's more about that now we kind of put the cart before the horse and just like, well, anybody can make anything, an app, whatever, website, a tool, anything with
It's all
quote unquote
bad.
AI.
It's all bad too. It
But
just
like,
sucks.
is it useful? Like, what is the point? Are you just like over engineering a solution to a problem that
Yes.
we really didn't need
That you created in the first
for?
place. Yeah.
Yep.
And you're actually making things worse. So what? You can continue to make solutions for these problems that you have now self-engineered. I don't know.
Yes. I'm also with you in that AI has it has uses where is helpful and like when it's used in certain very targeted ways. But yeah, I think with the whole cart before the horse thing, again, this is obviously a more personal take, but I don't think that, and that's well, it's personal, but it's also kind of what the book's about, that we're ethically ready as a society to like try and figure out how to like
We're not,
use
no.
this.
Anything else we want to talk about, or we're
It was cool that we get like a fully armed and armored cyber soldier. Then
We got Atom Smasher in real
yeah, like
life.
yes. And to the earlier discussions about Cyberpunk 2077, the book did make me want to replay that game.
It's a great game. It
And
made me want to reread Neuromancer.
I will at some point I'm going to reread Neuromancer and then do the like sequels.
I'm trying to remember. I had something else. I'm trying to remember what it was.
Also, a lot of my family is from the towns in Pennsylvania that he brings up, like
I was
Allentown and
actually,
like
oh my gosh.
Bethlehem and Pottsville and that whole like the
Yeah.
Lehigh Valley.
I was like,
very
oh, I
familiar
actually know
with
these
that.
places.
Yes.
Well, when he's talking about Idaho, I'm like, oh, I've lived there before. So I'm also like, oh, I know this. I've been here.
Yeah.
I've been to Twin Falls.
That's funny.
I did have a quote that I wanted to read for Kipton's sake because I thought it'd be funny to read it for his sake.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
This wasn't the point that I forgot that I wanted to make, but anyways, so this is when Julia is driving with Piers, kind of near an early part of the book where they steal the car and they're leaving the airport and whatnot, and she goes, "I have to drive like a proper said Julia. Otherwise, our car will stick out in traffic data."
Yes.
Pretty funny.
I did appreciate having Julia's view about all of this technology. One of the first things that she says is like, any data collected is data leaked,
Mm-hmm.
which, dude, oh my goodness. Anyway,
Did that make you concerned or aware of the amount of your presence on the internet?
hence why
That's something I'm generally like I'm fairly aware about and
yeah.
try to be careful about in my life.
Yeah.
But
I mean, this is not a new concept, where, she's literally using social media posts and any like public information on the internet. There's so much information about each individual out there. And if you were to manually try and go and search up this information, it is, it's going to take a while. You could totally do it, but it's going to take a while. But with AI, like the fact that you could have it in seconds, that's kind of what's a bit concerning. So, yeah, I know it's really fun to like post, your vacation photos and all of that for the world to see, but
that's a thing used now. Like people will have their houses robbed because they're posting where they're currently at.
Yeah, or
and people
like
like that's
doing
why I
house
hate.
tours and this is the layout of my house.
Yeah. There's an app that a lot of people use that I absolutely hate. It's I can't remember what it is. But you take a picture of yourself and then where you're at and then you share it to your friends and whatnot at like a day-to-day basis, and I hate that app. Which one
Oh, is
is
that
it?
Be Real?
Yes, I hate Be
Oh,
Real. It is a
not something I have an interest in.
this is my podium where I talk about how much I hate that app. Anyways, I did remember one thing I wanted to mention.
Yeah.
It kind of goes back to what I said in our spoiler free part, where a lot of this felt like stuff he's done but better before, and the prose I
Mm.
think is lacking in this book compared to Dandelion Dynasty. However, I won't go into that fully. There was one section that I read that I really really liked that felt
Okay.
like, okay, this is Ken Liu, because I think a lot of it was like, this doesn't read like Ken Liu. It felt, some people were calling it YA. It doesn't feel YA.
It's not
No,
YA.
But
it's not. It's
the
not what.
the prose is a lot less not flowery, but it's a lot kind of less than it is in Dandelion Dynasty.
I think the thriller part, like, was probably the reasoning for
It's
that.
yeah. But there's one line or one kind of quote. She would like to leave Piers and Ellie in the past, as she had already left behind so many others. But Piers had changed something in her. In the same way that long after a pebble had sunk out of sight, the once dead pool would not return to being still.
Yeah.
I like that.
That one
Yep.
resonated with me. I was like, okay, here's Ken Liu.
Yep.
He can
Good
write.
quote.
This man knows how to write.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, we did talk a lot about it, like the negatives and stuff, but there is a lot of good in it. And I do
Yeah.
hope that enough people do like this book. You don't have to love it, but like it enough where, he
I'd like to read more. I'd like to
Yeah.
see it written better.
I would. No, I think I mostly enjoy the book. Like, whether or not I read the sequel will probably be dependent on what it's about.
Sure.
Like that, like
Yeah.
what the subject, like whether, because that would probably determine my interest level. But like, I enjoyed it. Like, it's a solid.
I think it's really
sci-fi.
just the disjointedness that messes with me. So that's why I kind of hope the next book is a lot more together.
It probably will, especially if this one. I didn't know all the details around this, but especially if this one stemmed from a novella. Presumably, the sequel would not. It'd be a more like written just as a novel,
Mm-hmm.
so it wouldn't have to be like reworked or anything. Similar to like Mal's with like Gardens of the Moon having all of its many iterations before it was published as a book, and then obviously like Dead House Gates was written as a novel, and that you can tell like why one is more disjointed than the other, and that's all we'll go into it then for now.
They always bring it back somehow.
Yeah.
All right. Anybody have anything else?
Good.
Cool. Well, thank you for joining us in our discussion on All We See or Seem.
Oh, wait.
Oh, go ahead.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
There was one thing that we didn't say anything about, which is the title. And the
Mm.
title is taken from an Edgar Allan poem. Oh my god.
You can just say poem.
Edgar Allan Poe.
Okay. It's taken from an Edgar Allan Poe poem. And the line is, all that we see or seem is nothing but a dream within a dream. Is that what it says?
I think so. It was
It's
dropped
but a
in the
dream
book.
within a dream or something. Hold on.
I didn't know it was from Edgar Allan Poe, though. All that we see or seem is but a dream.
Is but a dream.
And is from his poem, A Dream Within a Dream.
That's what it is. There you go. Anyway, sorry. Go ahead.
I don't read enough poetry.
And this book does talk a lot about dreams. Then it was a dream within a dream. Anyway, go ahead.
Okay. Thank you for joining us in our discussion on All That We See or Seem by Ken Liu. You can find us on the Legendarium Discord server for more discussion on this and many other books. Our intro and outro music is Galactic by Jingle. Thank you to the Legendarium podcast for loaning us this corner of their show. Thank you to Horizon Brave for starting it all. And thank you to Panda and Storm for joining me tonight. I'm your host, Spook, and I wish you a good night.
Bye.
Bye.